Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. Holy crap, I can't believe I can say that. We are 10 episodes in to this little podcast presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM Philadelphia, and streaming on iHeartRadio. We are having ourselves a week this week for episode number 10. We are doing it right for getting into double digits. We have some news stories to talk about. We got 5 games on tap that you should be looking forward to, starting with today, Friday. And we have 4 separate interviews to share with you this evening. 3 of the 5 MVP candidates from the Call of Duty League spoke to me earlier this week. They're shorter little interviews, short like 5-6 minute interviews each, but they are interesting to see how these players go into each matches, what they expect for the rest of the year, and they make their case as to why they should be the MVP of the league. Very, very cool. And then in our second half, we have an interview with the marketing manager of Devolver Digital talking about, among other things, Fall Guys, the game that has taken the world by storm. If you're Tim the Tat Man, you're feeling pretty good about Fall Guys right now. So, great conversation with Robbie Paterson. I'm looking forward to you listening to that. But enough about all what's coming up. Let's make it happen. It's time for the 6 in 60 seconds. The Philadelphia Fusion sweep the San Francisco Shock 3-0 over the weekend, clinching the number 1 overall seed in the North American half of the Overwatch League playoffs. Matches begin September 3rd. Meanwhile, the 76ers Gaming Club was officially eliminated from the NBA 2K playoffs, while the Toronto Raptors Gaming Club pursue a perfect season. Meanwhile, the Call of Duty League playoffs have begun, with Optic Gaming LA and Paris winning their first matches, eliminating Seattle and the LA Guerrillas. Also, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War has been confirmed by Activision and Treyarch, with the full reveal coming August 26th. Nintendo brought out a new 20-minute Indie World video featuring many independent games coming soon, including 6 that dropped that day. And finally, DC Fandom this Saturday will reveal 2 brand new DC comic-oriented video games, Rocksteady's Suicide Squad and WB Montreal's Batman game, expected to be Batman Gotham Knights. That is your 6 in 60 seconds. Yes, moving right along here on the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. That was the 6 in 60 seconds, and now we have our first of 3 Call of Duty League MVP race interviews. I have 3 of the 5 candidates ready to talk about their season and what's coming up in the playoffs. And the first one may be the biggest one of all. From a champion last year to MVP candidate this year, this is the Atlanta FaZe's Chris Lair, but you know him as Simp. Simp, how are you today, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. I kind of feels weird to be calling you Simp now that that name has the connotation that it does. I swear it's not an insult. It's just the name that you use when you're mowing people down throughout the Call of Duty League season. So, first question, real simple. You were a big name from the moment this new format started because of the success that you had last year with E United. Did you feel any added pressure going into the season because of that, or was it just business as usual?
I wouldn't say there's any added extra pressure, but I think I do put a little bit of just additional pressure on myself, just as my mindset, I guess, just because in my head I always think I want to be like the just want to be the best player. You want to be the one that's taking control of the game and just making sure that you're like a big part of the reason your team's winning.
Yep, makes sense. So take me back real quick to probably your most successful home series of the year in the Chicago home series. You set 2 single-game kill records in the same weekend. Were you just feeling it that day, or did someone say something to you where you had to prove something? What do you attribute that extreme level of success to?
Honestly, I mean the kill record games are kind of just us having close hard points with teams that we shouldn't have, to be honest. Because I think both of those cave hard points we played it super close to London and Seattle. Both of the kill records that I had, and if we didn't drag the game out, I probably wouldn't even have got it. So it's just honestly a matter of just making the game last.
Now, is it weird, like, when you come to that realization where you're like, wow, I have set a record that may never be broken? When do you have that moment of reflection of, man, this is really going well for me?
I mean, I guess after the matches, you always think about like what happened during them.
Sure.
So I didn't really care about the record because like we were still in the series. But I mean, afterwards, it was kind of like, well, that was kind of like cool. Like it was like different.
Cool. So your team, the FaZe, they sit in the number 1 seed position and are considered by many to be the favorites to take the title this year in this new format. What are you going to do, or what is the team going to do to make sure that those expectations don't lead to potential overconfidence?
I mean, we never really make matches too much of themselves, but we always know that that anyone can win a match. So you have to take everyone super serious and always be going 120%.
That makes sense. Similarly, you have 2 full days of competition to sit and watch before you guys play on Saturday. I imagine there's a potential issue of a team coming in real hot to face you in that first match. So what are you going to do to prevent a little bit of rust or a little bit of letdown, let's say, so that way you come in strong on Saturday?
I mean, we're gonna keep scrimming. We scrim every day, so we're gonna keep doing that before our match, and we're gonna have a couple days of odd on every team because of where we are in the bracket. So I think that'll help us a lot to be ready for whoever we play.
Cool. And then 2 more questions for you, and we're done here. First one is just real simple. Make the case. Why are you the Call of Duty League MVP?
I'd say I'm the Call of Duty MVP just because I kind of have a little bit of everything, and I'm like kind of at the top of everything I do. Uh, Search and destroy, I kind of take over with my sniper a lot of the time, and if not, then I'm kind of just running around the map making plays. And then the respawns, I know how to get killed and I know how to stay alive. I know how to just help the team out in the best way possible.
All right, and then my last question is a little bit same question with a little twist. Why should Cellium be the MVP this year?
Cellium should be the MVP this year just because I think he was the most consistent player on our team this year.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing a lot when all of us were kind of not playing the best COD. So I think him keeping us in and him playing the way he does has kept us in a lot of the tournaments that we should have been out of.
That's great. Chris, that was it. That was a quick interview. I appreciate your time. I look forward to you playing this Saturday, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I know if you guys win, you're going to make a lot of the bracket battle contestants very happy, myself included. So good luck to you. I'll be watching Saturday. Have a great tournament.
Thank you.
Yes, next up on Cheesesteaks and Controllers, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler here in Philadelphia, we are talking to the second Call of Duty League MVP candidate of the episode, another Atlanta FaZe player down there in Georgia, one of the secret weapons, I would say, of the league until his coming out party earlier this year. His name is MacArthur Jovel, but we all know him as Cellium. Cellium, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm pretty good. How about you, man?
Good. I appreciate you coming on with me tonight to talk about the season. So, when play first started back in February, January, you were sort of in the background, a bit of a secret weapon, like I said, compared to Simp and Abizi taking all of the attention. Did you prefer it that way, or was there a small part of you that was like, I want to be that household name too?
I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, I mean, I love that my teammates get like the recognition they deserve. You know, like
Yep.
Simp and BZ were like top talents last year, and I'm glad they still are top talents. So like, I'm glad they're still getting the love and support they do. But I mean, I don't really care about like all that, like, the recognition and stuff. I just want to win and just play good for my team.
And if it comes with winning, then it comes with winning, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, so the Atlanta home series, one of the few that was live this year, was like your personal coming out party. That 1.32 kill death ratio and winning MVP of the entire series. Did you feel like you had to perform for your home crowd a little bit? Was there a bit of a home pressure, or was it simply a matter of time before a performance like that came out of you?
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Like the crowd, like was like just making me play a lot better, and obviously like it was our homestand, so I wanted to win that for our like owners and people behind the scenes on our team. So like it was just a good feeling winning that for our owners and stuff.
That crowd was pretty hot too. Yeah. Was it hard to communicate with the team, because as you're making big plays, the people are cheering. I don't know how familiar you were with playing in a live setting. So was that something different for you, or were you prepared for that?
I mean, our team was prepared for that. I think the crowd helped us a lot since they got like us hyped and stuff. So
Sure.
I think it helped us a lot for sure.
Cool, yeah. So you personally have gained a reputation for being clutch, specifically in search and destroy. Has that always been a favorite of yours, that mode? And if so, what makes it so easy for you to succeed in?
Yeah. I mean, I like before I went pro, I played S&D tournaments all the time. So I feel like I have a good understanding of how to play the game mode, and I feel like when my teammates need me to clutch up, I'll be there. So.
Sure. Now, do you prefer, of the other two, do you prefer hardpoint or domination?
I prefer hardpoint.
Is there a reason?
I just think hardpoint's just more consistent and like it's more fun to watch and understand. So.
I would agree with you there. I feel like hardpoint with the moving point keeps things interesting, and then the camera angles, I definitely agree with you there. So you are in an interesting position that you play flex, so you could go in with the AR or you could go in with the SMG. Do you find that being a flex player specifically gives you an edge in certain modes or in certain matches, as the opposing team doesn't really know what to expect until it starts?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like some teams, like some of their players can't really run both guns like I can, but I feel like I can run any gun, and it's say if like a team is running like more guns, like more submachine guns, and I can pull one out and just match their pace. So I think it helps us a lot.
Do you have a preference?
I mean, I like to play the AR role, but I can run any gun.
Have you ever tried sniper?
I never tried sniper in like competitive matches.
No, more of a Warzone fun thing.
Yeah.
I dig that. Okay, so I only have two more questions for you. This has been really good so far. I appreciate you talking to me. First one is real simple. Make the case. Why are you the Call of Duty League MVP?
I think I was chosen for a candidate because I was my moments this year. It's been like pretty crazy for me, but I think because of my clutches, like game 5s, like 1v1s, 1v2s, stuff like that, I think that's the reason why I'm considered like the candidate for MVP.
And that's why they should pick you?
I mean, if you want to pick me, you can, but if you want to pick me, you can.
That's a good diplomatic answer. I appreciate that. And then finally, and I asked Simp earlier the same question, just in reverse. If it's not you, why should Simp be the MVP of the league this year?
I mean, he's been the best player for like the past 2 years. So I mean, if it's not me, then it should be Simp. I mean, he's been like stand out this entire year. He's kind of been like with the sorry, I don't know how to say this, but like overlooked because he's been doing the same like he's going off every map, so people expect like that out of him. So
okay, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so like
So people expect greatness out of him. So when he doesn't, it's just another day at the office. And but you don't want people to forget that he is still the best in the league.
He's still doing this thing.
That makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, that's everything I had for you, Cellium. I appreciate you coming on with me. Good luck to your number 1 ranked FaZe. Your first match is Saturday. You don't know who you're playing yet, but hopefully it works out for you, and you're holding the trophy on August 31st, I think would be the final, or the 30th.
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys. Best of luck, and I hope to talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you, man, for sure.
All right, yes, moving on to our final MVP candidate interview for the Call of Duty League in the year 2020. This man came from a completely different game and lit up the league for the majority of the year. His name is Anthony Cuevas Castro, but you know him as Shotzzy from the Dallas Empire. Shotzzy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you for asking. So first question's a simple one. It's your first year in Call of Duty League, your first year in competitive Call of Duty, as I understand it, and you're already nominated for MVP of the league. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I feel it's crazy to think about looking at it.
So what would you say was the biggest adjustment from Halo to Call of Duty? In my experience, I feel like Halo is a much slower game, where Call of Duty can be really fast-paced the entire time. What was your biggest adjustment?
The biggest adjustment I'd say would probably be just having a new, the fifth man. In Halo, it was always 4v4. So
Sure.
The comms were never, hectic in, situations. So that's like the biggest. And, there's obviously, the practice is way different. You're practicing every single day at a certain time in Call of Duty. We didn't really have that in Halo. Mm-hmm. And, that's what I've had to adjust so far.
Do you find that regiment helped you in the long run to get better, or did you prefer the more free schedule of your previous game?
No, yeah, I like playing every single day at a specific time, just because you're more, you're consistent and just you get practice every day, and I like the new the way we practice in COD.
Cool. So, what do you think from that experience in Halo puts you an advantage in Call of Duty and allows you to see the success this year that you have?
I'd say just experiencing the competitive environment. I'm a rookie, but I've competed 2 years on LAN, and I know how it is to be in those pressure situations. So I feel like that's helped me a lot whenever I transition over to Call of Duty.
Do you find that there's more pressure in the live setting as the season began, or on the online setting where you're kind of alone with your own thoughts? Except for, I don't know if you guys practice with or play with your team or not, or if you're in your own home. What do you think is more difficult as far as actually competing in a match?
Probably just the online to LAN adjustment in Call of Duty. It's way different because some people online have really good connection, and then when it's on LAN, you're playing on the neutral host,
Sure.
Everything's fair. So that'd probably be the biggest adjustment, but that I'd probably just say that.
Sure. So which of the 3 game modes that feature in Call of Duty League did you take to the quickest? Which one did you immediately latch onto, and then which one gave you the most trouble?
The one that I got right away was S&D. So I started in Black Ops 4. I literally just played S&D. I was underage. I wasn't able to compete at the time, so I just played Search and Destroy with friends and stuff like that. And it's just really easy. There's 2 bomb sites. First to die, all that
Sure.
stuff. So. Yeah, that was the easiest to get used to, and then the hardest would probably say domination, just because you have to value your life really hard, and you have to look at the timers, you got to look at the score, and that plays a big part. So I'd say domination.
Do you find domination to be much different from, say, territories in Halo, as far as pace of match, I suppose, or were they similar enough? Did you play a lot of territories in Halo?
So yeah, I wasn't able to play so they had territory in Halo 4, and I didn't play Halo 4. So
okay,
this is the first ever. This is the first ever game type I competed in.
Oh, that makes sense. Cool, sure. So I watched your finalist video, your MVP finalist video that they put out, and I talked about how the first series of the year was a rough one. You came in, did not have the first series you probably wanted to. But what was it about that performance that seemed to light a fire under you to turn things around?
So obviously I didn't have a good start in the beginning, and whenever I started in Halo, it was just completely different. It was flipped around. So basically, I was looked at, the best player, had crazy movement, all this yada yada yada.
Sure.
And it was just way different coming into COD. I got the complete opposite. I was called a bust, all this other stuff, and I didn't let that affect me. There's a lot of comments like that, but I just stayed in my game and kept grinding, and then just keep getting better.
Was there a bit of, to use a theater term, opening night jitters? This is your first time in Call of Duty League. Maybe you weren't. Maybe that kind of affected your game a little bit, and then by Series 2 you were fine? Or was it just a fluke?
it was just it was one of those things where like I was still trying to find my role as a player. You know, this is like my first time going to Call of Duty, so I was playing really different roles every other week. So I was just trying to find my footing, and once I did, I kind of just took off from there.
And you certainly did. So my last question for you then is just make the case right now. Tell the people why you are the Call of Duty League MVP.
I say I'm the Call of Duty MVP because, I don't think anyone's ever transitioned to a different game and, had this much success off the first year. And I'm just a good player, genuine human, and yeah.
That's a strong argument. I would agree with that. That transition from they're two completely different games, even though they seem on the surface like point and shoot. So to have this much success in your first year in a brand new game is definitely noteworthy. Shotzzy, thank you so much for your time. You play on Saturday is your first game. Are you worried a little bit about the lull, or are you going to be watching 2 days and scouting and being ready for whoever comes your way?
Yeah, I'm just gonna scout, ready whoever comes our way, and just get ready for the Saturday matchup.
There it is, man. Thank you so much for your time, Shotzzy. Good luck to you, and I hope we're still talking about the Dallas Empire in the championship round next week. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
There they are. They are the 3 MVP candidates that sat with me this week. Simp, Cellium, and Shotzzy. All 3 of those easily some of the top players in the league and worthy of their MVP nomination. Call of Duty League playoffs are blazing right now. YouTube.com/official COD League. We had a couple matches today. I'm recording on Thursday. A couple matches on Thursday where the Toronto Ultra and the New York Subliners won their winners' side matchups, setting the table for a Chicago-New York showdown and a Florida-Toronto matchup starting today, Friday, at 3 p.m. And they will go the entire weekend, getting down to the Final Four. And then next weekend will be the championship round, and we will have our first ever Call of Duty League champion. Very much looking forward to that action. It's always a good time, and I am very thankful to Simp, Cellium, and Shotzzy for agreeing to speak with me for this podcast. Very good information from them, and I wish them all the best of luck in the tournament. But let's not talk about the games you're going to watch this weekend anymore. Let's talk about the games you might be playing this weekend and coming up this week. There is a 5 spot of games to talk about this week, so get out your glasses. It's on tap time. This week on tap starts off with PGA Tour 2K21 from 2K and HB Studios, hitting the links with the PGA Tour license for the first time ever. That comes out Friday the 21st. Later in the week, we have Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, a new adventure in the very popular Cartoon Network franchise. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered brings a GameCube classic back to the forefront. Moon Remix RPG Adventure brings a previously Japan-only RPG for the PlayStation 1 over to the Nintendo Switch for the first time in America. And finally, Chapter 1 of Tell Me Why, Dontnod Entertainment's next foray into the narrative adventure genre. The developers of Life is Strange are at it again, and Chapter 1 will come out this week. A 5 spot, plenty to choose from by the time we talk to each other next week. What's on tap for you? Yes, that is what is on tap this week. Loaded schedule of games coming out this week and for the foreseeable future. It seems we have kicked off the fall/holiday season, particularly in the sports game realm, with PGA this week, Madden next week, and NBA the week after that. But right now, on the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, I am very excited to have someone from who may be, when all is said and done for the year 2020, the most successful publisher of the year. And that is Robbie Paterson, the marketing manager for Devolver Digital, who is flying high right now with Carrion and especially Fall Guys. Robbie, how are you today?
I am very well, Jason. Thanks very much for having me on. I've got a glass of water, so I hope that I'm not sounding too raspy on the phone. No, not
today. At all. Water I should have thought of myself. That's I do have mine here. Yes, everything's coming.
Get involved.
Yes.
Get involved.
So first, Devolver has really had quite the month. If we go back to the 11th of July, you had your Devolver Direct, which is always a delightful skewering of everything the industry does. And then you released Devolverland Expo right after that.
Yep.
I want to talk about that real quick. So walk me through the days you're leading up to the Direct, right? You know that this Expo is coming as soon as it's over. Was there a excitement, apprehension, a mixture of the two? What's the mindset going there?
I'd say it was mostly panic. I mean, even our direct, the Devolver Direct, which was a Herculean task to pull together by the team who shot and performed in that and edited it, because we are in the world of COVID-19 right now, so getting all those folks in a position where they could even film anything was a huge headache. And then trying to get it all pulled together in time for the date that we'd agreed with Twitch was, well, I mean, the final video asset, I think, was delivered to Twitch hours before it was broadcast.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it was all very much flying by the seat of our pants this year. But it went really well. Couldn't have gone better, really. I think with Devolverland Expo, that was another thing which, well, I mean, so this was like a really ridiculous idea that came out of, again, the whole COVID thing. I think it was almost as soon as E3 announced that they were cancelling E3 for the year, we were like, right, what are we going to do? And it was Nigel at Devolver who he just came up with this idea. I think he just emailed me or called me one day and was like, hey, what about if we make a game? And that was how it all kind of started out. And then gradually this whole idea of it being kind of like this bizarro E3 convention, and then how we would like turn it into this kind of, you break in as a fan and you have to discover all of our marketing materials. And it just kind of made us laugh. It made everyone laugh, really. It was like, this would be ridiculous. We have to do it. Absolutely. So we thankfully had a lot of help from the team at Flying Wild Hog. One of their actual studios had literally a 2-month window between the stuff that they were finishing up and then the next project that they were working on. So we kind of just went to them and were like, could you do this in 2 months? They said yes. And that was it. We kind of lined up a producer, one of our producers, Luke, and that was it. And then somehow it all came together.
In 2 months, that's
in
amazing.
2 months, yeah.
That's
So when we knew it was exciting to do the direct and then know that we were launching this Devolverland Expo, but I mean, it had absorbed us all for 2 months working on all this stuff that it just didn't really feel real anymore. So I'd almost kind of just forgotten that everyone was going to be experiencing this for the first time and that nobody had any idea what to expect, that Devolverland Expo was even coming, anything like that. So, it was just all a bit last minute and all a bit chaotic, but it seemed to go quite well.
Oh, they nailed it. That expo was fantastic. It really, having been to E3 so many times before, I felt I felt at home. I felt like something that was missing was brought back to me, even if there was, automated sentries roaming the halls, which isn't normally the case. I use normally in air quotes. But yeah, so that was really, really cool. Very neat addition to the summer. But since then, you have released 2 successful games, Carrion, the reverse horror monster game, and Fall Guys, which has taken the internet by storm. And these 2 games really could not be more different. And yet they fit into the Devolver portfolio magically. What makes Devolver's approach to publishing so unique and ultimately so successful?
Well, I think that we don't really have like a specific goal when signing games or looking at games or accepting pitches or anything like that. We really are a company that I think we pride ourselves really on looking at anything and everything. I think as we've become more successful and we have had to begin being a little bit more selective about the projects that we take on, I think really now it's just about, it has to make everyone really excited. We want to, there's always one eye on, can we market this? Will it sell? Will it work on consoles? Will it work on PC? Is it good for mobile? All these kind of considerations are obviously part of the conversation. But yeah, at the end of the day, it has to excite people. I think we've talked about it numerous times in the past. I think I can't name any off the top of my head, but there are games that we ultimately passed on or didn't even look at because of, I don't know, timing or whatever it may be, that have gone on to be very successful. So it's not like we have the final say on what is and isn't cool and successful in the world of indie. There's plenty of opportunities for people who have nothing to do with Devolver, who have been, in some cases, you could probably be a lot more successful if you don't work with Devolver. It's a big wild world of video games, and it's just cool that we get to see so many of them. And the fact that we have seen so much success with games like Fall Guys and Carrion, and also Blightbound. Blightbound we released in between those two games as well.
That's right.
That's in early access. So again, it's all been very different. It's been Devolver Direct, and then Carrion, and then which is on Switch and PC. Then Blightbound, which is PC only, multiplayer, early access, and then Fall Guys, which is just become this phenomenon. I mean, yeah, they really couldn't be more different from one another, but they're all games that excited us, for different reasons, and that's why we enjoy working on them. And obviously, the people as well, the people who make those games. That's a big factor for us, I think, is that, Devolver's a big family, as corny as that sounds. So we like to work with people. We like to have long-standing relationships with developers. People already know that we tend to work with developers. We like to work with developers on more than one game, if possible, if they want to. So yeah, fostering those relationships with developers is really important to us as well.
Sure, the family thing is cool. The fact that you treat all of your developers like part of the overall Devolver family. I mean, you already have the crazy uncle in Fort Parker. That part's done. So now you need to find the rest of the family, which is
exactly.
Awesome. And my apologies to Ronimo. Is that how you say it? Ronimo?
Ronimo, yeah.
For not realizing Blightbound has already launched. It's just the way every day meshes together. So I'm very sorry about that. So my main topic today, obviously, is going to be Fall Guys, which, as you said, has become a crazy phenomenon. Did you know at Devolver that there was something special here? And if so, when?
Well, I mean, from the very first pitch, we knew it was a game that had to be made. As soon as Mediatonic were like, okay, we want to take... At the time, it was... so there was a game show in the UK back in like the 70s, early 80s called It's a Knockout. And then, obviously, Takeshi's Castle has been brought up a few times. And I guess there are American versions of those shows as well, but I don't know what they are.
Wipeout.
There you go, Wipeout, yeah. So it was like, that was it, basically. What if we made a Battle Royale game that was based on these game shows, or inspired by these game shows? And it's these little jelly bean men, and you start off... Originally, it was you start with 100, and then you whittle it down to one. Classic Battle Royale. And that was it. I think they literally pitched it with GIFs, like GIFs from like a prototype and GIFs from various game shows. So it was a no-brainer, really, to sign it. But I think there was always a risk on our side as a publisher, because we'd never done anything like this before. We've never done like a fully online, I mean, it's not free to play, but it's that next tier, which is just like an always-on multiplayer experience. and it has a store and all of these different things. So we'd never done anything like that before. So we thought the idea was going to be successful, and we thought that people would enjoy it, but we had no idea if we were going to be capable of pulling it off. So, I mean, that's just a huge credit to everyone on our side and particularly on Mediatonic's side for pulling it all together, because outside of, a few teething issues at launch around matchmaking and servers, I mean, I don't think that's unusual for an online game, but I mean, outside of that, outside of the first 72 hours, it's been all gravy.
Sure. And actually leads to a couple of questions I had later on. I'll just put them together right here. So first off, did anyone, either at Devolver or Mediatonic, foresee this level of excitement for Fall Guys as it was going through development? And then were server issues a concern leading up to launch? And then how has the team handled the extra scrutiny of being so popular since that launch?
So to answer your first question, no, we had no idea. In fact, we made a joke about the fact that, beyond a certain CCU, like only the very biggest, like free-to-play games even have to worry about hitting those kind of levels.
Sure.
And we hit all those levels. So like within the first week, I think within the first, so it was a massive shock. I think the team handled it absolutely fantastically. We did have downtime, but what was amazing to see was that the community for the game was really supportive as well. That really helped, because like the teams on the matchmaking and the server side, are busting their asses trying to keep this game running. And it's a very small team, and they've never done anything like this before. So the fact that they weren't kind of just being dragged constantly was a real benefit, because I can't imagine how difficult it must have been anyway. So huge credit to all the fans and everything for staying positive and not kind of like heaping all this extra pressure on the dev team. But yeah, I mean, we had no idea it was going to be that popular. We hoped it would maybe be half as popular as it has ultimately become.
Right. I can't really imagine what those target numbers were, and then what they actually ended up being.
I mean, yeah, it's blown them all away. Let's put it that way.
That's good.
And what was your second question? With the were there issues with were there concerns with server issues leading up to launch? Which I would imagine no, because you didn't expect this many people to just rush right into it in the first exactly
week.
Yeah. So we'd had 2 weeks of, so maybe I'm being slightly facetious, we had 2 weekends of like an open beta,
right,
that all the streamers were invited to come and play, and that gave us our first indication that this was going to be pretty successful. But all of the scaling on the server side had all been tested before that, and then during the beta weekends everything was fine. So we were like, wow, like I think this is going to be okay. If we're looking at those weekends as a level of what to expect, we were kind of like, hopefully this will be fine. But it far outstripped either of those beta weekends at launch. So yeah, there was no concerns before launch, but obviously as soon as things started to kick off, then it was like, right, okay, we need to sort this out. But again, that's all credit to the guys who do all of that technical stuff. Sure. That's not me, because they jumped on it. They were amazing. A lot of them didn't get much sleep, especially that first weekend. But, the proof is in the pudding now, and we're in a much more stable position. We have more servers, the issues and bugs that were cropping up in that first kind of 72 hours have all largely been addressed now. So, yeah, things are looking a lot more rosy, which is nice.
They certainly are. And like you said, it's hard to predict. I mean, you predicted some success from your beta testing, but the level of success is hard to predict. So server issues make perfect sense.
Yeah, it's hard to predict. I mean, it's hard enough to even accept, when you're in the middle of this success, It's like there are millions of people playing this game right now, and I'm just sat here in my little flat in London, just talking to you on the internet, and I'm just like, life just doesn't feel like, where's my Ferrari?
Right? Yeah. When do you start seeing some of this?
But yeah, so yeah, completely unpredictable. Very welcome, but completely unpredictable.
Sure. Now, do you think? Well, I mean, obviously, this probably made a difference, but how much of a difference would you attribute the PlayStation Plus inclusion to the success of this game?
Oh, I mean, it can't be overstated how much of a benefit that has been to the game. It's no secret, it's the Rocket League method, right? So we're obviously really grateful that Sony liked the game enough to want to include it in PlayStation Plus. But I mean, it's phenomenal. It's been successful on Steam as well. We announced obviously after the first week, we had 2 million players on Steam.
Amazing.
Which is incredible. But yeah, I mean, that's multiplied many times on PlayStation, and we don't have crossplay as well. So the fact that it's still doing so well on Steam, I think speaks to the quality of the game and how enjoyable it is. But yeah, there's no question that having it free on PlayStation has been a massive benefit.
Cool. And price point is not bad either. $20 for what has taken the gaming industry by storm. That alone would convince somebody on Steam, at least I think, to be like, oh, it's only $20? Yeah, I'll jump in. See if I like it. If it's a full $60 game, you might not have that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and obviously you can purchase currency and things like that, but,
sure.
Updates will be free. Costumes, things like that will all just be purchased with in-game currency, which you can earn. So, yeah, the goal really is for people to pay $20 and that's it. And then enjoy their game as much as they feel. If they want to throw another, $5 in 6 months' time or a year's time, if they're still playing, then great. But yeah, that was a big thing for us. You can't expect people to lay out money for this game and then gate all of the fun stuff even further. True. So, yeah.
That's definitely true. So then my last question to you is, you brought up costumes, and just by the little bit that I've played the game so far, costumes is a huge opportunity for this game. You, sitting right there in your chair, in your flat in London, if you had the ability to choose a partnership for costumes to be in a future update, something that you like or something that you remember from maybe when you were a kid, whatever it is, what would you push for? What would you pitch?
Pro wrestling.
Oh, yes! Oh, man! That's genius.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, pro wrestling. Probably like classic WWF superstars. Bret Hart. That's what I want. That's my goal.
God, that's brilliant.
Bret Hart, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels.
Macho Man. Hey, there's some current ones too. I would love to walk around in a
themed
costume.
Yeah, the New Day. Absolutely. This weekend, I was literally watching Austin Creed's Up Down Down YouTube channel, and it was Austin Creed, Xavier Woods.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
Xavier Woods, Cesaro, Tyler Breeze, and Adam Cole playing Fall Guys together this weekend.
Surreal, right? Had to have been.
Really weird. There's been quite a few instances. I mean, it's not just me. A lot of people on the team are seeing, either like their favorite journalists or their favorite streamers or celebrities playing the game or talking about the game. Like Gary Whitta, who wrote Rogue One, he was playing the other day. There's a Scottish comedian called Limmy, who's a Twitch streamer who he's actually famous for having TV shows in the UK, but he's been playing it loads, and stuff like that. Just that's the stuff that really blows my mind when you kind of see these like big time.
It has to
you
be
know,
the best feeling in the world. Has to be.
yeah. I mean, seeing pro wrestlers play my game, or not my game. Sorry, it's my game. I want to believe it's my game, but yeah, seeing pro wrestlers play the game, it may not matter to anyone else, but to me, that's the top of the mountain. You know?
Sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, I would love to see some pro wrestling costumes
I
in the
dig
game.
that idea. Vader, Big Van Vader. Oh man.
How about you? What do you want to see?
So I had an idea back when I was a kid. McDonald's around Halloween, they would release these little chicken nuggets in Halloween costumes.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
What, the actual nuggets? In costumes?
Yeah, the toys were, but they're shaped like the Jelly Bean people. They just didn't have arms or legs.
Yeah.
So the costume dimensions could look very similar if you look up a picture of them. That was my first thought, but my second thought, I didn't really have one. Maybe sports teams, like sports uniforms, could probably go a long way. But pro wrestling, that's brilliant.
That's where it's at.
Hadn't even gotten there yet. Wow, man! So
I've had a lot longer to think about it. So
yeah, it's true. That's true. Well, Robbie, thank you so much for joining me this week on the podcast. This was a fantastic conversation. Fall Guys is crushing it right now. People are loving playing this game. 2 million on Steam. And how do you have a number for how many adopted on PlayStation Plus so far?
It's many. It's very many
people on PlayStation Plus, and I can only see those numbers grow as the game continues to grow. Are there any plans? I mean, there aren't any set plans right now, just costume updates here and there. But how far into the future should we be looking for maybe some more Fall Games news? Do you have any ideas right now?
Well, there's going to be seasons. So, right. I think the in-game, when you're in the lobby, you can see the little countdown timer. It tells you how many days,
like 50
countdown
days right now,
for this season. Yeah. So the aim is that the next season will be ready in time for that little countdown. So we don't really have like a specific cadence for seasonal updates.
Makes sense.
But in between seasonal updates, there'll be sprinklings of costumes and things like that, and various additions and updates to the game. It's early days, sure. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. But yeah, you can look forward to seasonal updates for sure, which will include costumes, new levels, which will be added to the rotation.
New levels
as well. Yeah. Oh yeah, lots of new levels.
Oh, I love that. I love that very much. Well, Robbie, again, thank you for your time and your participation in the podcast. We are very lucky to have you here. And I wish for the continued success of Fall Guys, of all of Devolver stuff. Your games are great. Love playing them. Thank you again for your time. And hopefully we'll be talking again soon on the next major Devolver hit. Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah, I'll call you from my my Ferrari car phone.
Yeah, that's right. Call me with the Bluetooth in your Ferrari. Please do.
Oh, yeah.
Robbie Paterson, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
There he is, Robbie Paterson, marketing manager of Devolver Digital. They are flying high, aren't they? They've had one hell of a summer in this summer of quarantine, summer game fest, summer of gaming, what have you. I got to say, that Devolverland Expo was something else. To create basically a faux video game convention in game form for people to mess around in this time of not having them really was a nice touch. I definitely appreciated that and the fact that it was free. That always helps. And Fall Guys, man, Fall Guys, even since we've recorded this interview, it still continues to have a stranglehold on all of social media. The saga between the Fall Guys Twitter account and famous streamer Tim the Tatman, who went 600-some matches without winning, finally getting his win, and that cultural moment for all of the streamers and the people on social media at that time. That was awesome earlier this week. I would check that out if you haven't seen that clip yet. The euphoria that he feels is awesome. And all caused by this little game that nobody saw coming except for a select few, and really just has steamrolled the gaming world at the moment. I love every bit of it. I love that they're having this success, and I hope it continues in the future. And if they wanted to get into those pro wrestling costumes, I would have no problem with that whatsoever. That Robbie Paterson has a great idea. Only have one more segment to do this week, so let's not waste any more time and speed into the speed run. First up on the speed run tonight is an interesting story that broke last Thursday, but because I had a funeral on Friday, I recorded on Wednesday night. Therefore, I missed it. I just wanted to take some time to talk about it now and maybe explain to people what the heck is going on. So, there was a bit of a tiff last week between Apple, creators of the iPhone and the iMac and all that stuff, and Epic Games, the developer/publisher of Fortnite, which, unless you have been living under a rock, you know what Fortnite is. It's one of the biggest video games in the world and has been for the last 3 years. Gave out $30 million in prize money at their World Cup last year. They have a lot of capital to throw around, but they have a bit of a grievance with Apple. See, Apple and Google, for that matter, as they got involved eventually. Apple, in their App Store, when you download an app from the App Store and you make an in-app purchase in an app, they take 30% of every sale. So if you pay $1 for something, 70 cents goes to the people that made the game, 30 cents goes to Apple. Every single time, no matter what, boom, done, no. That's just how it is. Epic wasn't feeling that. Despite being $1 billion a year company, they just weren't feeling that. And they decided to put a little mechanic into their game, into all versions of the game, across Apple, Android, Xbox, all of it, where you could click on a symbol, click on a little thing, and buy the in-game currency called V-Bucks directly from Epic, cutting out Apple completely from the sale. It was a direct transaction between the player and Epic Games. Apple, obviously, wasn't keen on that, and they decided to kick Fortnite off of the App Store completely, which right now, not that big of an issue, but will become an issue the next time Epic releases a patch. Next time they patch their game, Fortnite on the iPhone will become useless, because with it being off the App Store, you'll be unable to download the patch, and without the new patch, you cannot connect to the servers. So therefore, August 27th, or whenever the patch comes out, whenever the new season starts, Fortnite on Apple products will be useless. Now, Android does not really have that issue. It was kicked off of the Google Play Store for the same reason, but Android being a little more open source, that you are able to download other stores, like the Samsung Galaxy Store or an Epic Games app themselves, a direct Epic Games app that you can download and get Fortnite from there. So it's not like Android users are not quite as affected as iPhone and iPad users will be. And this has basically just become a spitting contest between two massive organizations with no sign of stopping. And you, the unknowing person, may think, well, how does this affect me? If you don't play Fortnite on iPhone or Android, then it won't affect you at all. If you are not the parent of a child who plays Fortnite on mobile devices, it won't affect you at all. But if you are a parent of a child that plays Fortnite on an Apple device, be it an iPad or an iPhone, and I know plenty of them, you may be losing, your child may be losing one of their favorite games come the end of August or September. And all because these two corporations are getting into a measuring contest, for lack of a better term, over this 30% cut. How do I think it's going to play out? I think eventually Epic is going to come back licking their wounds, because Apple has now come out and said that anything that uses not only Epic's technology, but also the Unreal Engine, or Unreal, that Epic uses, that rents out for people can build games, anything that uses that is gone. Come August 24th, I think was their deadline there. So that is a ton of apps that use Unreal from developers of all sizes. And the fact that they could just be pulled by Apple on a whim kind of shows where Apple's head is in all this. I think it's stupid. Honestly, I think they should just stop all this nonsense and maybe negotiate something, or Apple can be a little less stringent with its cut. I get where Epic is coming from, but are they really losing that much money with 30 cents of every sale? Is it really? I mean, I guess when you're doing the amount of microtransactions that Fortnite is, it would be a substantial amount of money. So I sort of sympathize with them, but at the same time, I feel a little smarmy about militarizing, or not militarizing, that's a little strong, but basically engaging gamers, unsuspecting gamers, as your soldiers in the field against Apple. So what they did was, when Apple pulled them from the App Store, they expected this, apparently, and about 2 hours later released a parody of the famous 1984 Macintosh commercial from back in the 80s about small Apple going up against a big corporation, which I suppose was Microsoft at the time. Could be wrong about that. The old Macintosh commercial. So Epic Games made their own and played it in Fortnite for all to see, talking about how Apple was, pulling Fortnite from the App Store, and they created this hashtag free Fortnite, which is silly because, granted, it's a lot of devices, it's a lot of phones, but that video is kind of takes the message of the original video and perverts it a little bit, if you ask me, because you got some little kid, some 13, 14-year-old kid who has no idea what's going on. He watches this video in Fortnite, and all of a sudden he's on Twitter yelling at Apple, which doesn't do any good. Apple clearly wasn't fazed by it because they said, all right, you keep this up, we'll pull all of your stuff. So it's just a bunch of hemming and hawing, back and forth crap. And I wish they would have saved it for the negotiation table or something else instead of making it a sloppy public affair that really is more dystopian cyberpunk than even cyberpunk will be in November, if you really think about it. But that's just me. I'm curious to see how it will end up. I have a feeling we'll be back to status quo, and Fortnite will be back on Apple devices with a 30% cut to Apple when all is said and done, as if nothing happened. And it'll just be one of those things that we chalk up to 2020. And that's it. So that's Epic and Apple. Weird situation going on. I don't quite get it fully, but that's the basic gist of it. And if you want to look into it yourself and get a little more information, you're certainly welcome to do that. Make your case for which company is correct if you have any skin in the game, or if you're just going to sit back and watch Fortnite burn and eat some popcorn, you can do that too. You do you. Meanwhile, I'm going to continue to not play Fortnite because I tried it, I like it, I just have other things to do. So, speaking of other things to do, let's get to our last topic of the evening, and how fitting that the speedrun segment actually talks about speedruns. Specifically, Summer Games Done Quick 2020, which is going on right now, twitch.tv/gamesdonequick. It is a speedrunning marathon that started on Sunday at noon and goes until Saturday night with the last run. And players from all over the world join the live stream, and they play these games faster than they have ever been played before. These are games. The speedrunning community is vast. There is a thriving community for any game you can think of, and all they do is find little ways to manipulate the game and get their times lower and lower and lower and lower, sometimes completely breaking the game, which is fun to watch. But most of the time, it's just little time saves here and there that make them have a really good score. And so far, for the first couple days of GDQ, there have been some great runs that I would recommend you check out. So, I'm going to list a few of them right here. Some of them are newer games, some of them are older games, some of them are games you may have never heard of, some of them might be your favorite games. But all of these, I definitely recommend you take a look at the Games Done Quick YouTube channel, youtube.com/Games Done Quick, I believe. is putting video-on-demand versions of all of these speedruns on their YouTube channel, so you can watch them. Usually the day after they happen is how long it takes for them to show up on the YouTube channel. But I definitely would recommend you going and checking these out, looking for these, because they are entertaining. The very first one I would recommend is the very first one that they did, Demon's Souls 2009 PS3 game, considered by many to be a very, very tough video game, and the precursor to the Dark Souls franchise that set the standard for difficult games. Runner named Berto Please beat that game in 51 minutes and 42 seconds. That is a dozens of hours game for most people, and he crushed it in less than an hour. Absolutely absurd. Moving on, there's a game on the PC called Dusk. It's a first-person shooter, not unlike Doom and old shooters like that. Someone got through the entire game in 18 minutes by using glitches to get them out of bounds of the stage and allowed them to walk around in basically like the nether, the ether. A really cool way to watch that game be manipulated. What's one of the best parts of this speedrunning marathon, so you can see the way the games are just destroyed. There was a whole block of old original Nintendo games, some of which I had never heard of. That was really entertaining. So you had New Ghostbusters 2, which was finished in 21 minutes. You had a game called Chicken of the Farm, which was finished in less than 10. And then you had the classic Kid Icarus that was finished in 22 minutes. All of those are worth looking into. You had a run of Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link on the NES, which was the end of that block. That was finished in 50 minutes in reverse boss order. So it started with the final boss and went all the way to the first boss, which is an interesting way to play it. Definitely suggest you look into that, because that's a lot of fun to watch. Batman Arkham City, speaking of the Batman games that are coming soon to be revealed this weekend, Batman Arkham City, the second of the Batman Arkham trilogy, was finished in 1 minute and 7 seconds by a speedrunner with the excellent name Chicken Nuggets with an S. I really like that name. Hollow Knight, which is a action adventure style game in the Metroid Castlevania realm, for those who are familiar with those games. This was one of the first races of the week. So sometimes they'll do a race where two players will start at the same time, and they will race through the game to get through it as fast as possible. This particular race used no major glitches, so they were playing pretty purely to the developer's intended experience, and it was beaten in 42 minutes. That's another game that's dozens of hours for certain people. 42 minutes, they were done with it. And right after that, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which came out in March, was somehow beaten without using any out-of-bounds glitches in 35 minutes. That game took me 15. These guys are doing it in just over a half hour. It makes no sense to me. There are all kinds of games to check out here. The schedule is at gamesdonequick.com/schedule. I talked to the director of operations, Matt Merkel, last week. It has been a very good season. It has been a very good year so far, despite everything having to be streamed online. Their technology, for the most part, has held up. These videos on demand are a good testament to that. You can check them out whenever you can. Some of the big runs still to come in the speed run for the next couple of days. We have Doom Eternal, which is happening at 11 Thursday night, so you won't. It'll probably be done by the time this episode goes live, but you can always check that out on the video on demand when it's uploaded. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 will have a speed run with a target time of 1 hour 35 in the campaign. That'll be interesting. A Short Hike, which is a fun little indie game that's worth watching just to see the fun little indie game for the first time. That'll be Friday morning. That'll be just after this, or just before this episode comes out. Check that out on the video on demand. And then Friday night, or Friday afternoon, starting at about 3 o'clock, there is a race in the original Super Mario Brothers between 3 big-time Super Mario speedrunners with a target time of 23 minutes. So these guys are going to rush through the original Super Mario Brothers with no warps, so none of those hidden warp pipes, and they're going to try and do it in less than 23 minutes, all three of them, which is absurd. I hope they can make that happen. I'll be very, very happy to see that. And then Saturday, you have a whole lineup of great games. You have Final Fantasy VII Remake that just came out in March. They're trying to beat that in 6 hours, 40 minutes. That took me about 40. So I'd love to see how they're going to do that. Super Metroid, a 100% run in an hour 20. That's going to be crazy. For currently scheduled for 3:43 p.m. Sunday, Super Smash Bros. Nintendo 64, the original Super Smash Bros., had side missions called Break the Targets, where you just had a little obstacle course. We had to break all the targets. Each character had their own unique one. Player named Bubzia is going to do all 12? All 12 of the Break the Targets runs in under 12 minutes, blindfolded. That's right. Some of these runs are blindfolded. In fact, if you look at some of the past years, one of the best runs of all time, a man named Zach Allard, ran Punch-Out, classic Punch-Out, blindfolded, and got through the entire game. It's one of the craziest things you'll ever see. Definitely recommend looking into that. And then it wraps up with Bloodborne. All bosses is an hour and a half. A Minecraft random seed survival mode, and then finally Pokemon Shield, rounding things out, currently scheduled for 8:52 p.m. on Saturday. So there's plenty of speedrunning madness to take advantage of live on Twitch. If you miss them, you can go into their videos on demand and check them out there. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And if you do, donate to the cause. Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, I think is how they said it in the French, the actual French pronunciation. Right now, I'm loading up the stream right this second, and throughout the week, they have already raised $695,000 as of 8:41 p.m. on Thursday, August 20th. They have 2 full days left to go. That is amazing. Now, granted, in a pandemic year, they are lower than they usually are. Last year, Summer Games Done Quick 2019 raised $3.1 million throughout the entire week. They're still at less than $1 million here, but in a pandemic year, for people to have donated clearly nearly $700,000 with 2 days left to go is wonderful. It's for a fantastic cause, and if you want a little incentive, depending on how much you donate, you qualify for the potential to win certain prizes that are related to the games coming up soon. They could be little tchotchkes. They could be game consoles. If you donate a total of $200 throughout the week, you're entered to win a custom-made replica Hylian shield from The Legend of Zelda. All kinds of stuff like that. If you need the extra incentive, if you just want to donate out of the kindness in your heart, you can do that too. But it's definitely something I recommend looking into, getting familiar with, and supporting, because it is a wonderful cause, and they do a very good job. And the speedruns are fun. The speedruns are a lot of fun to watch and follow. The players are interesting, and it's something that everyone should be more familiar with. But with that, that is the end of episode 10 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. I still can't believe that this is the 10th episode, and we're about to finish it. We're moving on to number 11. Pretty soon, we'll be at 100. Well, maybe not pretty soon, but we are already in double digits, and that blows my mind. I just want to say thank you to everyone who listens on a week-to-week basis, especially if you're listening to this section now at the very end. That means you got through this whole episode too, and I cannot say enough about your support. I thank you so much for your time, for your ears, for your patience. I hope you learned something today. I hope you were entertained by the plethora of interviews that we had done. I want to say thank you again to Simp and Cellium and Shotzzy and Robbie Paterson from Devolver Digital for taking some time to sit with me. I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to episodes 11, 12, 13, and the future. This has been the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, brought to you by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM Philadelphia, streaming around the world on iHeartRadio. Radio. My name is Jason Fanelli, and until next week, see you later.